What is up, folks? Casual Dad here, and we're pulling up kind of an older replay. It's not that old. It was, I want to say it was maybe a month or two ago. But it was just this crazy game, and I've just finally realized I had a replay of it and really wanted to go ahead and record it. Now that I've started understanding that I can watch my replays. And you can see me in the top left here. I'm playing Lucio, the Overwatch healer. He's pretty funny. If you play Overwatch at all, he plays exactly the same in Heroes of the Storm as he does in Overwatch.
Alert. Battleground initialization
Man, that's
in
loud.
progress.
Let me turn that sound down a little bit. There we go. Alright, and so what we're watching is this Cho'Gall. First of all, he's got a crazy, very exciting skin. Also, I am one player and all four of the other guys were on a team together, which is pretty rare and a lot of fun, so no pressure. But the reason I really wanted to pull this up is it is extremely rare to see a Cho'Gall game played at all. Like, they're not common. And then to see one played really well is even more rare, and this one is pretty great. So we're going to follow that dude around this game and ignore me, just because I want to see what he does. And of course they're in a party, so they're on a team chat. But so for those folks who don't know, Cho'Gall is crazy because Cho and Gall are the two heads, and one player plays one of them and the other plays the other. So one player is actually moving and doing a lot of the offensive physical skills, and the other one is just casting spells. So it's a takes a lot of cooperation. You both have to have Cho and Gall, you both have to be playing at the same time, and one of you has to be willing to not be driving. And so I was jumping around here. Cho'Gall has an enormous amount of health, so a kind of like poke healer like Lucio takes a really long time to fill him up, even with Amp It Up. So I was really focused on topping him off the whole time to make sure he stayed at a decent level of health. And there are a lot of reasons for that. The big one being that because Cho and Gall is two players, that's two people who are taking up that space, so that's one less body that can move around the map and do different things. And this is, I think, the largest map in the game, and also it's a 3-lane map. So you can see there's the top over here where we have Stitches, just gaining experience at the top. On the bottom here we've got Nazebo, and then of course we're all here duking it out in the middle. Now, just like the last game that I covered, we do have the Lost Vikings, who are 3 models. So net, we're down 1, up 2, so net we have 1 extra body more than a typical team, which works out. But still, the Lost Vikings are very, very weak individually. They can do a lot just because they can get to a lot of places, but if a team is focused on taking them down, it's pretty easy to counter them, if they can split and deal with the individual Vikings, which they can't always. But yeah, so right now we're seeing that Stitches is up there with one of the Vikings, the sword. Let's go ahead and jump there real quick. Just holding him up, keeping him busy. And the Vikings can just kind of sit there and not do much for a while because someone does have to micromanage all 3 of them, or worry about losing them. Let's go ahead and stick back with our big guy again. But yeah, so net we have 1 extra body, but still it's a weird power dynamic where that spreads out what we're able to do, but it also puts a whole lot of power in a concentrated form, just because Cho'Gall is an absolute meat piece. I've never said that before, I don't know what that means. Anyway, whatever. But also the opposing team, they've got Stitches for the pull, and they can easily get Stitches out of the way. They've got Kael'Thas, who does a ton of damage, there's that pull, and they also have Tychus. And Tychus can do damage based on a % of the target's health, so he is really scary to something like Cho'Gall that is relying on just having bulk to stay alive. And now so far, the early parts of the game aren't terribly exciting. You do a lot of poke, you kind of play with objectives. This being Warhead Junction, we're all looking for these warheads to appear at these individual platforms. And then once they pop up, a hero has to channel uninterrupted to go ahead and get that warhead. So there's a lot of duking it out in different parts of the map. And at this point you can see both Kael'Thas and Nazebo are here taking these 2 on the bottom. And we just weren't able to interrupt. We were able to interrupt that one, but there you see how much the Vikings have to run away if they... Oof, that was a lot of damage. Ouch. If the Vikings are challenged, they kind of have to run. Ooh, man, Kael'Thas taking some damage there. Oh, and they should not have let him go. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I was laughing about. And Cho'Gall is just dominating the middle of the map. So there are pluses and minuses to having a huge map. For the one, it's really huge, so there's a lot of space to cover, which is good and bad. It means you get a lot more ability to kind of move around and run all over the map and be a split push team, but it also takes that much longer to react to things and get places on the map, which can work both for and against you at different times. So you saw me boop there. Ooh, goodness. To try to successfully save Cho'Gall, and then Cho'Gall came back in and saved me. And when I say boop, that's Lucio has his sound wave, where he can push enemies away in a cone in front of him. And so if the enemy team is getting too close and locking down one of your players, you can go ahead and knock them all back a little bit and give everyone some breathing room. And Lucio, just for those who don't play Overwatch, super fun. He's got an aura, just a bubble around him that gives a passive heal to all friendly heroes in that bubble. And then he's got an ability that triggers to change that from healing to speed, so you can give a speed boost to everyone within that bubble, including that there Cho'Gall. And then also he has that boop I just talked about, and then he's got something called Amp It Up, where he can increase the effectiveness of whichever aura he has. And then that is his ultimate, which does a debuff to opponents and a buff to friendlies, while also doing both of your abilities, both the speed boost and the damage. I would talk a little bit more about Cho'Gall's abilities, but I honestly don't know them. I'm not very familiar with them, and no one is, because no one plays Cho'Gall. Hence why this game is so much fun. You see him doing that rolling ball thing. He's also got an orange stabby thing. He's got a diving charge he's done a couple times. Unnecessary ult on my part. Call that a misclick. Ooh, we got a Nazebo. Getting cocky there. And I missed him a boop. I tried to boop him back so we could catch him, but it worked out anyway. I just body blocked him. This is one of the things about Cho'Gall, is he's just big. He doesn't just have a lot of hit points, he's physically large, so he can actually block spaces and corner enemies a little bit easier than some other heroes can. And I think what we're seeing when my aura goes is just my Amp It Up. I'm overselling that. Oh man. And this, what I'm talking about, is it's just a big map. It takes longer to react to what's going on. There's that Amp It Up. So that just means I'll do more healing or more speed for a short period. What we're seeing here is it's a big map, so we were just able to sneak around and knock out a couple individual heroes who were off by themselves. The other team probably could have caught us and reacted fairly quickly, but they didn't necessarily know that. They didn't know how many of us were present. So they had a lot of incentive not to... Or they didn't have a lot of incentive to dive in and save, because they didn't know how risky it was. Ooh, little speed boost to chase that guy down. And so this was fun. This team comp worked out really, really well. Raynor is able to push a lane, so you want a lane pusher who can operate solo at some point, who is also useful in team fights. Lucio is a great healer with Cho'Gall, because he does that speed boost as well, and lets you get more effectiveness out of that big, heavy platform that takes up so much of a team. He also has a late level talent that lets him heal based on a % of total health, so the opposite of Tychus' damage, which is really helpful to top off Cho'Gall. Now just a quick recap here, taking a look, we're looking at these forts. There's the outer layer of 3 forts, the inner layer of 3 forts, and then the keep itself. I probably have all the names wrong. They're forts, keeps, and something. What's this called? I don't know what they're called.
Work order complete.
Anyway.
Warhead fully deployed.
But just looking at this, we are pretty balanced here. Uh-oh, got eaten by... Stitches. I think I just died somewhere off screen, didn't realize what was going on. So we're looking at a Cho'Gall, and I don't think he's died yet. Pretty sure not, which is pretty extraordinary. The other team has been targeting him down, but he's been doing a really good job of running away and using his defensive spells. Really great team here. Another one of the reasons I wanted to show this, you don't see him engaging in too many all-out team fights, which is one thing that Cho'Gall really does a lot, but is not the best idea because you end up down a character. So it ends up being a 4v5 in the best of times, and if the Lost Vikings are in there, it's a little bit hard to math out exactly how that works out. So there I jumped in, hit him with the speed boost, and then hit him with the heal boost and amped it up to do the extra healing. I believe at this point I have don't have the trait yet that... No, okay, nice. And there, the speed boost, I let him jump in and catch up. You can tell by the color of my feet which one I have up. So there, that's speed boost, that's healing boost, that's amped it up. So yellow is healing, green is speed. Ooh, look at that dive. And that was just some great play by this Cho'Gall. He called every time they tried to counter him. He was really good at dodging out of traps and stuns, which really is mark of a really good player, but also an extraordinary Cho'Gall. Especially being that big, it's hard to dodge. Even though he is fast and has a bunch of really powerful abilities for that. I'm trying to avoid damage here.
Hero slain.
The nuke just sitting there, we want it, but he can't take it.
Slain.
But yeah, so examining here, you start at, ooh man, so at this point we've got a pretty decent lead. The Vikings have successfully pushed on the top, and they are getting camps and pushing the top forts. The middle one, the wall is down and it's taken some damage, same on bottom. Whereas our top is at full health, our middle one is still reasonably high, and we've lost the bottom one, but that's still relatively even. We're also up in experience. Oh, he did die. There he is. We're up in experience. There he goes.
Warheads inbound.
And it's funny too, because the name of the Cho'Gall ends up being like a mix of the two player names, I think. Well, maybe not. In some screens, like your MVP screens, it is a single name for both players. But when they talk, it's different. But yeah, so this was just... My other head was screaming no. Also, classic chatter that you can only get with a Cho'Gall. And now I couldn't see them for the most part there. I didn't realize all three of them were coming in. And I was proud of that play. That Raynor was able to push back that Nazebo, but still I think we get wiped here. And I was trying to keep him alive. It's just rough. The whole team was in there, all three of them in there, and there were just the two of us. Ooh, I got one. I got hooked. And there you can see me using my Amp It Up and Healing Boost to keep us topped off, keep us alive. Little boop. That was probably an ill-advised boop because I saved him. Ooh. And here he was trying really hard to save me. And then he was probably typing something and... oh, will I make it? He's trying to outpace that fireball. And Cho'Gall's one of the few who can take that with such a low percentage of health without dying. Oh yeah, look at that. Like, that escape, and that, like, just barely missed that hook. Oh!
Red team.
That was beautiful. Look at that. Oh! Okay, and there I got the trait I was talking about here. Rejuvenescence, so it heals, my healing boost heals an additional plus 2.5% of the target's maximum health, which on Cho'Gall is an insane number of healing. Like, just the numerical value of the healing is crazy high. Ah, he pulled off his ult. So this is Malfurion, the druid. He just jumped in and used his ult to do a bunch of serious healing buff right away. And I was not there to heal up yet. There we go. And look at how fast that health bar is going up compared to what it was. Like, now you heal Cho'Gall about as quickly as you heal any hero. But he's got so much of a health pool that it's just a crazy, crazy amount. Ah, and there I jumped in and tried to boop. I think he actually saves me here. No, so I died anyway. But still, that was really good, and we got several kills out of it we wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Ooh, but he's so low. Oh, yeah, there we go. So that's hiding in the bushes and jumping back in. Oh, that was a really, really close back and forth fight. Like, multiple times that could have gone either way, and these guys really capitalized on some key openings, and the other team left a couple openings that they didn't need to. But, woof, boy, that was one of the reasons, like, fights like that one are why I really wanted to rewatch this replay. I don't do replays up until that last one I just did, just to see it. But I really wanted to see this one just to watch this Cho'Gall. We're starting to get the nukes, and we're still pushing. Like, this is where Cho'Gall is doing his thing, being extremely distracting, topping off heroes, or knocking out heroes when he can, and doing a lot of damage, and getting a serious amount of experience because he's mostly staying in lanes. And then the Lost Vikings are filling that up and doing extra work, building up experience, which is their job. That's what they do. Cho'Gall does have a silence ability, which is how he was able to stop that, because otherwise Malfurion could have stopped him a couple times. And he was silenced back, too. Malfurion also has a silence in there somewhere. And here you can see we know the red team is forward a little bit, so we're pushing in behind them.
Slain. Hero slain.
And then we're able to ambush them when they were a little bit flimsy. And that was just wonderful, the way that Raynor pops in and finishes off injured targets of that Cho'Gall. Oh, get him! Blah. Brutal. Tychus has an escape move, but it's single use and pretty short, so he's easily caught if he uses that up.
Your team has destroyed the fort.
So here we've kept about a 1.5 level lead. We're about to hit 20 and they're at 18.5. We're winning on those forts because the Lost Vikings have been running all over the map playing crazy. So a really big map would normally be a huge disadvantage for Cho'Gall because he's fast, but he's a single guy who can't cover 2 spaces at once, even with 2 players involved. It's a little bit like a tank and a DPS being together at all times, which is good. But it does mean you cover less ground. And I think I went in there to try to save him. I don't think I did. I was not going to go in there. There's no way I could get in there. I could save him if he's able to get out. Did I try? Did I? No, there's just no way. Oh, I tried. Nope. Did I die too? Yes, I did. Yeah, I should have run. And I believe I will say so in a second. How are those Vikings doing? It's really hard to follow the Vikings. There's one, and there are the other 2 getting the nukes. Look at that. Getting those nukes. And this is an ideal map for the Vikings. If you're able to distract the enemy team and keep them busy long enough for the Vikings to run around and do things like that, oof, man, it did get us some warheads. And all 3 Vikings together are actually a pretty scary hero. They're tough to control, especially when they're close together like that, but they do a bunch of damage. The downside being that their damage drops off by 1/3 every time you kill one of the bodies, and each body is 1/3 as durable as a normal hero.
Red team has launched a nuke.
Now they got that late game kill. They were able to clean up the difference on the levels, so we're back tied pretty much at 20. We're still a little ahead, but they have a bit of an edge here. And you can see how much of an impact it makes when Cho'Gall's out of play. So Raynor and the Vikings are still doing their thing, but there's only so much they can do when both the healer is down, my bad, but also when Cho'Gall, this more than 1/3 of the team, is gone. Cho'Gall's back. Oh yeah. And here we're flagging. Remember that on the minimap we're seeing more than we're seeing more in the replay than you can see in game. Like none of us were able to see that they were up at boss. We just assumed they were up there, and we were reasonably sure. Ooh, dropping a nuke. Interesting call. And here, I don't remember what I was doing. I was dying. That's what I was doing. I was getting chain stunned and stuck in the bushes. And aw hell. Yep. So I couldn't quite see how far Cho'Gall had gotten and if I could get to him, and I got a little bit too greedy. And the other team turned around and used a bunch of control stuff to hold me down. So that was completely my bad. But still, they know Cho'Gall's back here and they're very nervous about him. And Cho'Gall himself is also nervous because that's a big team. They don't. Ooh, that is the kind of thing that turns around a fight. And then also the tank sort of going the other direction, leaving the support alone. It's pretty crazy plays. We saw that Banshee from Raynor. Let's watch this closely. They were a really good team. I really enjoyed playing with these guys. And Cho'Gall, he's hanging out at half health. That's one of the really disturbing things about Cho'Gall is he has so much health that you can kind of get away with playing off of your full health. And I think we saw a glitch there where the model was too big to fit where he was dropped, so he actually got a little bit of an escape move. Which may have saved his butt right there, because he otherwise would have been body blocked. May not be possible to body block Cho'Gall. He can body block others, but he may have Unstoppable and not be body blockable. Being this single model for 2 players, he ends up getting some significant buffs in one-on-one. I don't think there's any hero that can one-on-one Cho'Gall. And there shouldn't be. That doesn't make sense. So. We got warheads. It's still really even, so we're still up. Little smidge of a level, not quite a half. working on the warheads. So it still is anybody's game at this point, and I ran up to help the Vikings hit them with a speed boost and let them drop their nukes so we could maybe take this down. And they use their ult to get out of there. And so here, you can't see my bubble, but I'm staying close, there it is, to make sure that the bubble is applying. That's why the amp it up looks so much more dramatic, is when you're playing Lucio, you can actually see that bubble around you. And now, if the other team had been paying attention, they could have come back and ganked us, but they were in the middle, kind of in a scrum. Oh, and that bribe to just get the camp. Oh, lost Vikings. And here, that speed boost is helping us escape, and then I'll amp it up and use the healing boost to top everyone off. Really great combination. If the Vikings are grouping together, Lucio is really good with them, because the same weaknesses that they have are also strengths here, because they have really high health with all three of them together, but individually it's low. But that also means that as they're taking damage, you can heal them 3 times as fast, because you're healing it from 3 different points. So this was a fun little run over here. And Cho'Gall's just in a lane, so we'll jump back to him in a second. He wanted a camp. We'll watch this guy just solo this camp, which of course Cho'Gall can solo a camp, because he's not really solo. But does a lot of damage. And they're thinking about bossing again? Look at him go! So we knew they were bossing. We have that skull down there is elite monsters that we recruited. That's a mob camp, so that's helping push bottom, which doesn't have a castle anymore. So that's going to do damage direct to core. So here they wanted us to think that they were going boss so they could ambush us. We didn't fall for it. Or we did fall for it. Kind of. But a bunch of ults, some crazy stuff going on here. We're still in a really good position to harass them without taking a bunch of damage. And I'm going to bop in here and amp those guys up. There's my ult that gives us a bunch of armor, as well as my usual stuff going on. Cho'Gall got real deep and we weren't able to back him up, but luckily Raynor was there around the flank. So that was good play. You want everyone to kind of be together in a front, but if not, having kind of a split team where everyone's kind of in both directions is really good. But I think that we get wiped again. There go 2 of the Vikings, there goes Raynor. I made it out of there, so... Oh, no, I didn't! Did I? Did I? I don't think I did. I did not. Oh, so close. Woof. So this is a moment where really the red team should have won. Now they had to back and defend because there were catapults going after their core, so Nazeebo had to pull back. They went back for boss to go ahead and take it because we're dead. If they kept pushing, they would have had to just... Well, that really was... You know, yeah, that's my fault. Well, not really. I was actively running, so it wasn't like I ran into something dangerous, but... So just a quick recap here, we've got the same number of structures. Well, we have 1 more structure, and we have 2 more team kills, so 3 and 18 to 16 and 2, but still really close. Really close. And they were really weak. They should not have engaged there. That was a huge mistake for them. And that they had this giant advantage and they kind of gave it up. So us getting 1 kill out of that may seem minor, but that really hurts the kind of push they can do, especially with a Cho'Gall running around here. And he can then kind of stop the boss. Oh, if only we'd known he was right there at that low health. Ooh, and their warhead's up. Man, that Cho'Gall being cautious. Excellent, excellent play. It's running deep. We'll see how this works out. Ooh, the fake out. Oh, but then there's the slow and the grenade. Can he get out of this? Ooh, the silence. And this is it. No, he dies here. Because he's got to deal with that Tychus. Again, that Tychus has that area damage, or that % of health damage, and we defended from this boss. So he kept them busy long enough for us to stop this boss before it did too much damage or got to core. It was really unfortunate that he died. He could have backed much sooner and probably lived, but yeah. And here we're going mid. I think at this point I was following the Raynor. Ooh, man. Those hooks. That could have been real big. Bait him into a fight, get some camps. So here we're just getting camps, getting some experience while we're waiting for Cho'Gall to come back up. We don't want to die again, and neither do they, so we're both being very cautious here. They've pulled up, so they're only 1 team kill behind, and they are now part of a level ahead. So they pulled up a full half a level here, just in being able to lane while we were all out. And getting a couple significant kills and some structures, all that built up experience. So we're doing some defense here, and then we can go bot once we know that this is safe. I can speed boost and get Raynor there more quickly. Dun, 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 dun. And here red is going to make a big push because they have pulled up the difference. Oh, beautiful. Not so beautiful. And I was able to top everyone off, so that could have been way worse. It was still pretty bad, but that ult could easily have wiped us, but we were able to back out and survive. And red team was aware of that, so they should have run, because they were weak, and we'd all topped off. I don't know if they really realized how much healing we'd done. There was keeping Raynor alive while he's in the poison bubble. Now we'll speed, and then switch to heal. And then I just kept chasing, because I was topping off the Vikings. Don't know where they were going, but... So now we're tied on structures, almost exactly tied on level. So we cleared that difference, so it shows how quickly we were able to pull that experience advantage back. But they still basically tied it up. So we're up on team kills, tied on structures, basically tied on level. This is still anybody's game at this point, and one big push or one big team kill could decide this easily. Or it could be something silly like the catapults in the bottom of either lane end up taking out a core while somebody's not looking. Getting in a fight up here, I almost missed it. And this Stitches really caused a lot of havoc. Stitches is a great counter to Cho'Gall with that swallow. Just taking that guy off the field and putting something that big and slow in a spot he doesn't want to be in is really good. Malfurion is good with the control, but it is tricky because he's squishy and slow for a support healer, so it's not the best matchup against Cho'Gall. Tychus is an amazing pick against Cho'Gall because, again, he's got that % of damage. That ult went up and gave us all the armor we needed. I'm proud of myself on that one. That was a good ult. I did not. Oh, I did. Let me keep... I didn't. I thought I was able to keep the Viking alive, but of course not. And I dove in a little bit for the boop to at least keep him a little nervous. And top off that Cho'Gall and keep him from getting poisoned. That healing is absolutely crazy. Only happens while Amp It Up is active, but still, that's something you can use every couple seconds. And you can... It usually takes a really long time to heal Cho'Gall, and with that, it's much, much faster. So Lucio, with that ability, is a really great pair with Cho'Gall, especially with the speed boost and that healing boost. I had to run back because that tower was definitely giving me some trouble. And meanwhile, while we're keeping everyone kind of busy in the middle, you got Raynor pushing in the top, you got Vikings pushing on the bottom, and they're just keeping the pressure on, building up that experience difference. Ooh. Baited the ult from Malfurion, the ultimate that saved him, but also that means he doesn't have it to use if there's another team fight soon, which there probably will be, because we're getting in here, getting a little crazy. Oh, not a Viking! And a nuke. There, my ult. I was worried that Cho'Gall was going to take some damage, so I played it early. So that was them baiting the ult out of me. So now I don't have it. Oh, goodness. That was really good, getting the kill on Tychus. Again, Tychus is the biggest threat to Cho'Gall. Dropping the nuke in the middle of a scrum. What a mess. So the Vikings can... That's another thing about them on this map. The Vikings can hold up to 3... Oh, no. Up to 3 nukes at once. Ooh, that was bad. Oh, but I made it out. Oh, look at that. They were so focused on me, and I got out. I got one of them. The Vikings can carry 3 nukes at once. So if they take a little time to charge up, they can land a devastating hit. And this was a pretty weird move. So 2 of them are dead. They got 20 to 50 seconds on each. All of us are more or less up, so they don't want to engage. The new shorts, yeah. That was real nerve-wracking when they pulled me into the middle of that mess like that. So they played kind of there. We thought about boss and then didn't end up doing it yet. Pop speed boost to try to catch up. And here they have 3 lanes full of creeps. All of their forts are down. So they are very, very vulnerable. They have to make sure to keep one eye on their core because their core is taking some damage, and those catapults, the upper level mobs, these guys right here, can actually take down the core if left alone. So we got the boss. We pulled it off because they were busy on defense and because they were still down Kael'Thas and they only just got back Tychus. They didn't want to engage with us even if they could have poached the boss. This felt like a weird call taking the boss because they didn't feel that vulnerable, but obviously they were, enough that we could really make a difference there. And there you can see how their attention was split. You saw how they had a split engagement. One of them was focused on Cho'Gall and the other one was focused on the rest of us, and that split their attention, so we were able to pick one off, heal up, and then go back and kind of piecemeal them here. They used a defensive nuke. Ooh, so much damage. Where's my ult? Am I gonna drop my ult? No. No. Vikings will just get wiped. Oops. And this could have been bad. They could have gotten a team wipe here if they were able to take us out. But we had the boss. We had the minions on it. We just were doing so much damage to the core that we pulled it out. Now, they could have taken us down, but they were down 2 of their biggest, most dangerous guys. And yeah, there you go. And this part, if I remember correctly... Oh! MVP. I don't know which one that is. Gall. I don't know which one is the body and which one's the caster. I think Gall is the caster, which is crazy. So yeah, that was just... Oh, okay. I don't know which one's which. Anyway, but yeah, that was the Cho'Gall game that I wanted to show, and it was so cool. I promise I'm not going to do that many replay reviews. I mean, unless you want to see that, I don't know. But this one I had to catch. I had to dig it up. I had to look it up. I had to go ahead and watch this video while it was still fresh, so I could dig through some recent games and find this one because it was just so good and so rare to see a game like that with great play by the Lost Vikings and the Cho'Gall in the same match. Like, oh, it was great. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed that. But yeah, that's it for now.